Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here for this daily astrology report for December 16th, 2020. How's everybody doing, friends? How is everyone doing? I'm bundled up. Apparently, we're gonna get snowpocalypse where I'm at. We'll see what happens, right? Let's see what happens, shall we? But apparently, they are forecast. The meteorologists are forecasting anywhere from 8 to 18 inches starting tomorrow into Thursday. So I hope that happens personally. I haven't been around a good snowstorm in a long time, but it's meteorology and weather specifically. There's nothing exact about any of this, which is interesting. It really actually goes back to chaos theory, something that I brought up not that long ago. And weather is a great example of this. When you change any variable in the system, it has the potential to change the entire system. And that can happen. That can happen in all kinds of different contexts, can it? And that's something to keep in mind when we are talking about social contexts as well, because that's definitely applicable to things in a social context. But this is why astrology is really useful, because at least we have some kind of map in front of us to gauge what the possibilities are. And what are those possibilities? Well, let's talk about it. There's a little bit of a Sag overload now that Venus is in Sagittarius. The sun is moving now into the last 5 degrees of Sag. It is really starting to solidify our collective values, like bringing them into an actual institutionalized, crystallized form, and preparing for that move into Capricorn. The Mercury is at the position of the eclipse now, 23 to 24 degrees. And so a little reminder about the bluebird perched on the gate of the cottage, the reward which meets every effort at integration into a social environment for those who remain true to their own selves. Now, again, with this eclipse, this is something that's going to play itself out for months up until probably the next cycle, okay? So Mercury today crossing this point just days after this eclipse, this is going to be reinforced again in the realm of our mind and our communication, in the information that we are consuming and sharing, and our objective perspective. Mercury rules Gemini. There is objectivity here, which is the opposite of Sagittarius, which works to bring those opposite perspectives together, to use them as a form of alchemy to create something new. So Mercury is a lot happier living in the objective, just playing with the ideas. And so in Sagittarius, Mercury is at its detriment. It is not at its fullness, because Sagittarius does require, to a certain extent, to take the objectivity and apply it to something that eventually is going to lead to crystallization and solidification. But before that really happens, we are going to get this chance to objectively interact with these intentions that we set with the new moon and the solar eclipse. And so don't be surprised if there, like I said, communication comes your way, if there's information that you are able to interact with, that you take in, that you put out. It is the movement of information and data that Mercury is really good at. And so it will show us in our minds what it'll reinforce basically what the new moon was all about for us. Okay, we've moved past the south node now, the sun and Mercury, and so it's coming now to the other side, headed to the north node. We have passed the point of our karmic history and our mastery. We allowed it to propel us forward, and that's exactly what's happening now. And now that Venus is in Sagittarius, moving out of Scorpio, is now about the alchemy of the relationships. We have learned so much about what is happening under the surface. We have experienced this deep yearning in the realm of our relationships, and what we value and who we love and what we are experiencing in real time. The depth of those things is now we're taking that and using it as a way to alchemize all of these situations. So it's going to be much more active with Venus at this point than it had been for this time in Scorpio. Okay, so it's a little bit of a Sag overload, and of course Sag is optimistic. There's truth, there's big picture, collective beliefs and values. It also has a it's very self-righteous, and dogmatic at times, because it's so much, there's so much power here with the shared experience coming out of Scorpio, right? Scorpio is the ritual that creates realities, right? It is what we all focus on together that's really the most powerful aspect that we can use. And now Venus is actually going to use it in order to come to an understanding and use. Oh no, what happened? No way. Oh my God. Are we still recording? Oh my God. I have no idea if I'm going to have to go back and see if um, it was still recording, but my screen just went haywire for the last 5 seconds, like just haywire, all kinds of crazy. Like it was just, it was like, I don't even know what it was. It was just flashing like this bar of multicolored static. And it was just like, it looked like it was spazzing big time. And here we are, we're still here. So I'm not entirely sure what that was, or if it was still recording during that time. I'm sure it was recording me going, oh my God, what is that? So that's fun. A little bit of spontaneity here and very strange. We'll see if it keeps happening. I'm glad we came back because I didn't really want to start this over. Anyway, whew, that was interesting. So in the meantime, so we talked about all this Sag energy. In the meantime, the moon in Capricorn, Capricorn is a lot about responsibility, because when you are building something with other people that is meant to last, there is a responsibility there. And as the moon moves further and further through Capricorn today, this responsibility is going to be something that is unavoidable. Now, first, it's going to be in a sextile today to Neptune and Pisces. This is the first indication here, I would say, that if we are able to step up in this responsibility, rise to the occasion, maybe have our growth be accelerated a little bit ahead of maybe what would otherwise be normal development out of necessity. It will, if we are able to do that, we can be very supported in this process with Neptune in Pisces. That is a collective transmission for all of us, okay? And when Neptune went direct, one of the things I talked about is that the overwhelming amount of information and disinformation was just going to clog everybody's psychic space. And boy, oh boy, has that been the case. Every possible scenario, every timeline, every narrative that you could think of is being pressed out into our psychic sphere and into the ether for anybody to decide if they want to participate in it or not. Okay, so discernment has been a really important piece of this. And the thing about Capricorn is, because you have such a goal in mind with Capricorn, it is down to boss mode, right? This is the executive branch of whatever organization. We have something to get done, and we need all of us on board in order to do it. So that gives you a kind of a trajectory and a focal point to hold. And if we are able to step up to that, that is really going to help us with managing all of the inundation of messages, of propaganda, of disinformation, of every perspective you can imagine just being out in the ether. Okay, it's emotionally and intuitively, specifically, we need to be able to discern these things. And it is taking responsibility for ourselves and what we're creating. It's not just about us in Capricorn anymore. It's about a collective process of what we're building. And so we do kind of have to take responsibility for more than just ourselves in Capricorn. And this is saying that in an intuitive, in our psychic sphere, in our emotional sphere, we kind of have to step up and take some responsibility for what we're doing. And if we're able to do that, it will allow us to really get into the stream of the transmission from source, right? This is a spiritual pathway here that we could easily just drown in if we are not careful. And this moon in Capricorn is really going to facilitate that if we participate in it. Okay. Sextile requires a participation in some way. Okay. And then the moon is going to look at this quincunx, the north node. So even beyond that, so there is something beautiful here, and fulfilling each of our creative function to come together in this group performance. Again, it requires a responsibility, a cohesion of a collective effort, whereas the north node is pulling us towards this endless buffet of ideas that we can interact with. This is where Mercury wants to be. I just want to play in the realm of ideas. Every possible idea that I can heap onto my plate from this buffet is what I want to do. And there will be an adjustment here because we have to actually like start to rein it in a little bit, or more than a little bit, in order to get that group performance that's resonant, that has harmony, right? That is applying our creative function individually to something that actually that is transcendent and a realization of our unity. Whereas the North Node is like, well, there's really no unity here. It's just an endless array of ideas. And we do need to stay focused. This is where we're headed in order to evolve. This is the Gemini archetype that we're going to be with for the next year, at least, if not longer. So it's not to say that this is something we have no choice, really. This is the head of the dragon, and the dragon has, they are very, in it mythologically, the dragon is very hungry. They are obsessed almost with treasure and getting to their goal. And so sometimes the North Node can really do that. We can become a little obsessed with it. And so I think that's going to be the adjustment that will be made in terms of our emotional and our intuitive channel here, our individual intuitive channel. We don't want to get totally obsessed with just taking in every piece of data that we can possibly interact with, because then you just waste it, right? And that's when you go to the buffet and your eyes are bigger than your stomach and you pile it all on your plate and you're like, oh yeah, and then you end up we don't want to do that. We want to bring our individual creative potential into a group realization here. And this is where our psychic and intuitive abilities are going to be best utilized. And this will provide an adjustment, or it'll provide an opportunity to adjust our focus, okay, as well. Now, the moon then comes around to what? Square Mars in Aries, okay? And this degree is, this is going to be hard for Mars, because Mars does not want to accept defeat. Mars does not want to accept defeat gracefully, and does not realize necessarily that there's growth to be had from being defeated. That is off brand for Mars, okay? Mars is here going, I am the ultimate cosmic optimist. There is nothing but abundance that can come from cooperation and human togetherness. Sounds great, right? Sounds wonderful. Remember, Mars is in Aries. Each one of us is going to want to act through that in a very warrior-like and dynamic way, coming from our own personal experience and our own personal action. Okay. And this is a wonderful position to be in. The gate to the garden of all fulfilled desires. Doesn't that sound amazing? The square with the moon in Capricorn is going to be hard, because it's saying, well, that's great, but in terms of our intuitive and feeling-based experience, there is more to be had from accepting our defeat when we are defeated, because there is nobility here. There's grace here. Grace is an important word right now, okay? There's grace here, and there's so much to learn from our failures. And this is not going to go well with Mars. Mars is just like, no, there's no failure here. There's no failure. We can have everything we've ever wanted if we just come together and cooperate. Okay. But remember, Mars is a warrior, right? Mars is not a diplomat. It's just, I am going to act on this. Okay. This is, it's going to be hard. And specifically because once that happens, the moon meets Pluto. And now it's on, because the moon is going to meet Pluto in Capricorn. It's going to meet Jupiter and Saturn in Capricorn. And we are then going to align with the reality of these situations, okay? Pluto destroying everything for the potential for transformation. Jupiter, the defender of our collective values, expanding. Jupiter's walking into the boardroom and being like, okay, I'm ready to take control. And Saturn's the board, right? Saturn's the court, right? Saturn is the letter of the law. It's just like, this is the structure and the boundary of all there is. And Jupiter is ready to march in and be like, I'm ready to take this over now. I'm ready to lead. And of course, Pluto is just like, and by the way, I'm destroying everything that you have held dear and relied on traditionally this whole time. Okay. The moon is going to meet these three throughout the course of the 16th and also into the 17th. Especially because the moon is going to actually not meet Saturn until Saturn's in Aquarius, which happens very early in the morning on the 17th. So it's important that we realize that through the course of the moon's transits today on the 16th, that it is setting us up to feel the difference between wanting to personally act on things and the total lack of fitting together of where we are obsessively going with all these ideas versus taking responsibility, because we're going to have to take responsibility for where all of this Capricorn energy really is. And the moon is going to make that very personal, and it's going to make that very feeling based. Okay. And it may not feel good, and it's certainly not going to be boring. Okay. What else is going on? Well, Juno, oh, here it is. Neptune is also in a sextile to Black Moon Lilith in Taurus, okay? And she's retrograde. So we already know that Neptune is the master instructing the disciple. It is the unbroken chain of divine knowledge and transmission that comes from God, from God, through the guru or the master into the disciple, into the student. And it's an unbroken chain, and it is seamless, and it comes through totally making an actual dissolving into it, having a direct connection to source through the teacher, right? And getting this knowledge. We're all getting it right now. And we're either drowning in it or we are learning to ride this wave through. And this has been so much harder since Neptune went direct on the 28th and the Kraken was released. Now we have to deal with that too, right? That's just this whole disruption in the ocean. Black Moon Lilith is about our survival. It is about our instinct. It is about something deeper than even our feelings and our intuition. It is the reptilian mind in a way. It is the dark feminine. It is the animal instinct, right? And the sextile here is the instinct. The instinct is going to want to like have something new rise from the ocean, okay? And it's not to say that this is a bad thing necessarily, but it's also retrograde. So we have to be really mindful of the fact that there we may want to allow something to rise from the depths before it's really time, right? As a means of survival, right? We're just out in the ocean and we're like, oh, I need to manifest an island or something. I got a new continent needs to come out of the ocean. So I have some grounding in reality here, and not even realizing it. That's the thing about the dark feminine, is that it is our animal drives to survive. It's not even a feeling based. Like I said, it's the limbic system. It's the reptilian brain that is just acting on instinct to survive, despite any other. There's nothing. There's no feeling here. There's no nurturing. It's not any of that. It is just survival. And there is a tendency to want to, I think, let something come up to the surface and be seen. That if we engage that, absolutely it'll happen. That's the thing, the sextile, it could easily happen. It's harmonious here, but it does require some participation. And I'm not saying you should just allow yourself to drown in the ether here. Discernment is really a big part of today. And this moon in Capricorn, I think, is giving us a sense of responsibility to what we're creating. And it may not actually be time yet to let this new continent rise out of the ocean. We still need to go through this process, okay? That's at least my take on it. So that's the daily for the 16th. Moon in Capricorn soon, and we'll meet Pluto by the end of the day. Okay. And all of the Sag energy is making everybody very wanting to charge forward, especially because Mars is still, in in trine basically to all of this stuff still, especially Mercury, especially the South Node. And so we do want to charge forward. We have all this optimism, of all the desires, the gate of fulfilled desires, the Garden of Eden, and Mars is like, I'm charging in there, right? And we have to slow our roll a little bit and really connect in with this moon in Capricorn, because it's not just about us. It's really not. It's about what we're all creating together. And this is why it's really important that we are staying focused on the spiritual aspect of all of this and not getting caught up in all of the stuff. Again, that North Node makes us obsessive of I just want all the information, all of the intel, all of the Twitter, all of the posts on, all of this, all of that. And just like, I'm going to put all these, and you're not really putting anything together. You're just heaping a bunch of food on your plate that you're just going to get rid of. Neptune and Pisces, if we are able to grow up a little bit, right? And it may be outside of what we would normally be doing, taking some responsibility for ourselves and our intuitive channel, we are going to really be able to master this time frame. So that's the daily for the 16th. I love you guys. That's the truth. And if you find this information helpful, please consider subscribing, definitely hitting the like button. That helps the algorithm get this information out to other people who may find it helpful. Astrology is a map in space and time. It gives us a way to anticipate how to navigate, right? It's just showing us how to navigate through these times energetically. Everything else you need is in the description box below. And you can connect on social media. I do lives on Facebook every morning that are intuitive reads that add to the astrology as well. And you can go and sign up for the email list on the website and book a reading through the website as well. That is in the description box as well. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the next video, which will be on the 17th. Bye.